It just might be the greatest sports franchise in the history of sports. A place where legends are made, and there's always something to talk about. Get ready to immerse yourself in pinstripes. Start spreading the news, hosted by Paul Semendinger and E.J. Fagan, a couple of doctors with a prescription for Yankee fever. And now, here's Dr. Paul Semendinger and Dr. E.J. Fagan. Get ready to start spreading the news.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Recorded. We are not live tonight. We are recorded. We're recording this on Monday, but a little earlier than 9 p.m. This is the Start Spreading the News program. A reminder that this program is brought to you by Artemisia Publishing, a fantastic publisher who is a traditional publisher who has a multitude of award-winning books in a variety of genres, including some of the greatest books ever written, such as, my novel, Scattering the Ashes, my motivational book, 365.2, and a couple of great baseball books, Roy White's From Compton to the Bronx, that he wrote with me, The Least Among Them, which is a great Yankee book, and many, many, many other great titles. So go to Artemisia Publishing, apbooks.net, and get some of their fantastic books, including the ones written by me. Of course, this program is part of the Start Spreading the News blog. This is the podcast version of the greatest Yankee site there is. Nobody else puts up as many quality, well-written, respectful, but direct articles as we do. There's new content posted on Start Spreading the News every single day at 6 a.m., 10 a.m., and 2 p.m., in addition to, during the season, all the game threads, the quick hits, and so much more. And now we're joined by the great, the brilliant, the most phenomenal mind regarding baseball, humans, and the Yankees, Dr. E.J. Fagan. Doctor, how are you?
That was a big introduction. I'm doing great. A phenomenal mind, E.J. Fagan. Here we go.
Yes, there's no doubt about that.
Uh-huh.
All right, so let's start. You did the Bronx Beat podcast yesterday. I have not had a chance to listen to it. So I'm eager to hear it, but I will, but I haven't yet. And the Yankees have won 5 out of 6, EJ. And I'm granted they were bad teams, but the Yankees have still won 5 out of 6.
Yeah, they weren't winning 5 out of 6 against bad teams over the last 2 months, right?
Correct.
So it's something, yeah.
So should I be excited? Is this consensus? This is good.
I think it's okay. I think the risk of the Yankees falling out of the playoffs is after this week has been tamped down a bit. Cleveland's had a bad week. The Rangers have basically dropped out of the race. The Royals have basically dropped out of the race. And so there's just a tier below the Yankees. There's not a lot of competition there. And now the question is, can they get the second wild card spot? The first one, the division, probably not, but of those, the first wild card spot, I think they're like a game in the loss column. So they're still very much in it. They still have this easy schedule coming up, but I'm not convinced that they're good yet. I'm still kind of on the fence there.
One reason I'm worried that they're not good, I love when I make these lists and then I go all over the place and I don't do them in order. But one reason, Katie Sharp on Twitter, who didn't Katie at one point, what did she write for It's About the Money?
Yeah. One of our many, we have a lot of fun alumni. And Katie was one of them.
Correct. And we're actually an alumni It starts spreading the news as an outgrowth.
I mean, we were at one point ESPN's official Yankee blog.
Yes.
Though that was very unofficial, or that was very, very lightly official. So,
but you were part of the Sweet Spot Network. I remember. And you brought me on as a writer. And then, that evolved over time in 2017.
I wrote some like power ranking summaries for a little bit. That was a little weird, but yeah, that was kind of fun.
That was kind of fun. So Katie, an alumna, has a couple great stats out there. And, well, they're bad stats, but she's so good at coming up with original stats. Max Fried, regular season career games with 6+ runs allowed. In his career before this year, 4. In 2025, 4. One other crazy stat from the great Katie Sharp. Max Fried has a 6.80 ERA in his last 8 games. That's the worst ERA in any 8-game span in his career. Should we be
That's crazy. He's got to be hurt, right? Like there's, I mean, it is not a coincidence that stretch is like around a blister, right? Like that's like, I've heard Aaron Boone insist that the blister's not bothering him, but I'm like, but the blister happened and then the stretch happened. Like, give me another explanation for it. And Max Fried has been one of the best pitchers in baseball consistently when he's been healthy over the course of his career. The question has always been, is he healthy enough to pitch? And the blister has always been a problem there. He's missed games with blister problems in the past. And I get that the Yankees kind of needed him, right? They didn't want to IL him for 15 days just because, you're talking about at that point, replacing him with, who knows? And so I get the impetus to kind of get him to pitch through it. But when you have a 6.80 ERA, you're not helping anybody by pitching through it, right? You're not winning ball games because of Max Fried right now. And so, yeah, I mean, if I'm the Yankees, like I IL him or something, like, they have a couple of off days, so maybe you could skip a start or two. You have Ryan Yarbrough coming back. Yarbrough probably is better than what we've seen from Fried recently. I don't see how you go anywhere in the playoffs if you don't get him right. So you got to get him right somehow.
So get him right. And again, the wear and tear on somebody's arm, if he gets to miss 3, 4, 5 starts in late August and early September, that can only benefit them right down the stretch and into October.
Yeah, I agree. And again, like, what are you accomplishing by leaving him in there? I'll say this. I don't think I'm smarter than baseball people, right? Meaning that, like, I don't know the answer. Like, how do I get Max Fried right? But when we've been talking about, the Yankees coaching staff, front office, whatever, like, at some point it's just outcomes, right? Like, Max Fried was this really good pitcher who's never been this bad before, and he's been this bad. Fix it somehow, right? I don't care. I don't know what the solution is, but a good coaching staff should be able to right a problem. And that might mean ILing him. That might mean skipping a start. That might mean some other adjustment that we're not talking about. Doesn't really matter to me, right? Just do it. And if you can't do it, then you're not a good coaching staff. Either you're not good because you sitting him or whatever. Now, look, maybe they said, look, there's just no bodies to replace him right now. We got rid of Marcus Stroman. We got rid of some other guys. Like, we're stuck with Max Fried. Now you have Ryan Yarbrough. You have a replacement for him, and so you don't have that excuse anymore.
And in the meantime, Luis Gil has come back.
Luis Gil is back. I thought he looked pretty good in his last couple of starts, even if the results weren't perfect. And so, like, yeah, I think it's an easier choice for them now. But again, I don't know if that's the problem. Like, maybe the blister isn't a problem. Maybe there's something else that's the problem. I don't want to say on this, I know more than they do from the outside. But at the end of the day, again, outcomes are what matters, and I just don't really care.
Right, and the outcomes are poor.
They're awful, absolutely awful. Yeah,
and they almost blew the game that they won the other day. They didn't win. They didn't win that game because of Max Fried.
Though you fan of pitcher wins, he got a win on that game. But
yes,
look, I'm worried about Max Fried because not only do you really just need him to do anything in the playoffs this year, you got him for 6 more years. And I mean, the back end of those contracts are always going to be kind of bad. That's the nature of the beast. The front end's got to be good. And I really do worry about like Carlos Rodon, who, the first 2 years of his contract were kind of bad. And then, he finally kind of figured it out in year 3 this year. I think Rodon's been really good. But it's too late, right? Now you're talking about his decline years that you're starting to get him right. And not the years where he's supposed to be, make value on that contract. And so, if you lose half a season from Max Fried, that's a very valuable half a season, because you're going to have to eat 2, 3, 4 years of kind of, late CC Sabathia style Max Fried at the end of the contract. I also just, I'm looking forward to next year when Garrett Cole gets back, but he's not going to be back right away. So you need Max Fried to kind of carry you next year until Cole gets back and is in good shape. One thing I will note, though, one real conspicuous thing about Fried at the beginning of the season when he was really good, when his ERA was, around 2, was that his StatCast stats weren't great. They were good. They were above average. They were like 70th percentile xERA or something, but they were never anywhere near to what he was doing. Now, Fried has done that in the past. Basically, he's better with men on base than he is with no one on base, which would lead to outperforming your xERA. But it was conspicuous. I was like, wait a second, like even his expected stats are worse than they were in previous years. What's going on here? And then he crashes hard and regresses. And it wasn't 6.8 ERA, right? Something is going on different right now. But it was like a little warning sign that unfortunately kind of came true.
The fact that the Yankees may feel compelled to pitch Max Fried because they have all this room that they have to catch up to, and they fell almost out of the playoffs. And again, over the last week, as you mentioned, it's looking a little secure. But this is example 47B about why having these midseason swoons where you don't win for months on end are problematic. It's not just that your team may not make the postseason. It's now you have to play pedal to the metal, all out throughout the dog days of August and into the end of the season, when the better approach would have been to play consistent baseball. And especially considering the great start they got off to, then they could have, rested guys and it wouldn't have been as urgent that a guy like Max
I feel like that's part of the pattern, right?
Right,
I feel like they get injured and they play injured guys because they don't have a lot of depth. Now, I'll say this. They had starting pitcher depth to start the season. They just had awful pitching injuries this season.
Well, Clark Schmidt, Luis Gil,
Luis Gil, Garrett Cole, and then Stroman kind of, turned into nothing. So it was a bad season for pitcher injuries. So like this isn't a case of them starting off the season thin and then getting hurt and then having to play the hurt guys because there's no one else. This is them starting off the season, deep and then getting hurt and getting hurt and getting hurt. And then all of a sudden you have no depth left. So like, I think I can forgive the Yankees a little bit for that. But again, now that you have Yarbrough back, you have Heel back, I would just give the guy some time off. Like I don't know what else there is to do. What other button there is to push. I don't think he's just magically going to come out, or maybe he can. Maybe if you let the guy pitch through it, he eventually figures it out. But it's not getting better, right? It's not like he was bad in July and he's a little bit better in August and he'll be good in September. He just allowed 7 runs, so you got these 2 off days. I just feel like it's the right time to IL him.
I agree 100% because it doesn't seem like he's right. He's had the blister problem. It's not like you even have to have a fake injury, right? It seems legit. Here's a question. A number of people, and we've heard this a lot over the years. Some people are blaming the Yankees. I don't think it's exclusively a Yankee thing. But this whole idea of 100 pitches, don't ever go over 110 and all this kind of stuff because we're going to save a guy's arm. Does it seem to you, I have not run the numbers. I know we both read that great book a number of years ago, The Arm by Jeff Passan. But does it seem to you that there's fewer pitcher injuries than there were in the past? It doesn't. It seems like as they baby the pitchers, they seem to get hurt just as much.
Yes and no,
if
right?
not
Like
more.
the question is, like, no one knows why, right? Why are pitchers getting injured? It seems like more often than ever. You look around the majors. I mean, it's bad out there this year. There's a lot of teams with a lot of top pitchers going down. So, and guys have been healthy for a long time. Garrett Cole was healthy his entire career until this year. I think you have to look at like velocity and spin rate as canaries in the coal mine, right? These guys are throwing so hard all the time at max effort. They are gripping the ball so hard when they throw it in order to get more spin. And if you ever, when you grip a baseball, you feel it, right? You feel it in your ligament. And I feel like those have to be related. And I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I don't think throwing more pitches helps. May not hurt. You might be able to throw 115, 120 occasionally and not really harm yourself. I don't know, right? I think
is it a short-term gain? Like they said, Walter Johnson could throw 100. Now we don't know that he threw against a racehorse one point or something like that. They didn't have the way to measure stuff back in the 1920s.
He did not. I guarantee you, they were not throwing nearly as hard.
They say he could. Maybe Bob Feller could. I don't know that they did, and they pitched complete games and they threw 200 pitches a game.
There was also a lot more contact, meaning that they were pitching complete games with much shorter at bats. That's what I'm
saying. And they, even if he could grant that Walter Johnson or whomever could throw 100, he didn't throw 100 all game long. The idea wasn't to max out for 5 innings. The idea was on this pitch, in this situation, against this guy, I'm going to give him the fastball that he can't hit. But the rest of the time, I'm going to stay at a comfortable speed where I'm not going to overly tax my arm. And they were, and I don't know if this is true. This is like the old man on the lawn back in my day, but it seemed like pitchers used to pitch more.
I mean, maybe one problem is that like batters have gotten good too in response.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't pitch your best stuff, you might get hit. Right? Like it's an arms race between the two, and the problem is that the arms are breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, pitchers are better than they ever have been right now, or at least better since they lowered them out. And I think that's very telling, right? Like I think that's we're in a world where there's just a lot of guys who can throw 98, and that's good, right? That's keeps up. And then with these big breaking balls and crazy spin and all of that, I just don't like. I can't think of how you would fix it. Like I don't. I think that you just have a situation right now where you have, you have guys whose every incentive is to throw as hard as possible.
No, that's what I'm saying. De-incentivize that, and maybe
how
people by learning how to pitch rather than blowing people away. Like every single fastball pitcher says they go through this. CC Sabathia went through it. In the beginning, I just maxed out. I threw as hard as I could, and nobody could touch me. And then my fastball lost a couple miles an hour on it. So then I went through a period where I was pretty bad because I couldn't blow people away. And then I learned how to pitch.
Do you want to guess what CC Sabathia's ERA was after his age 32 season?
Let's see. What year was that? What year?
That was 2013. That's when he started to decline.
Yeah. So I'm going to say 3.9 the first year, like 2013, 2014, 4.15. The next year, I don't know, 4.20.
So it averaged 4.3. He had 3 seasons, 2016 through 2018, where he was below 4, 3.9, 3.7, 3.7, none of which he pitched a ton of innings. When he was a fireballer, right, he had an ERA near 3. He was able to pitch 230 plus innings a year. You'd rather be the fireballer, right? He didn't get that contract because because he was, a crafty old lefty, right? He got that contract because he was CC Sabathia. He had the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I take your point that, it'd be great to learn to pitch. Like I think that there are lots of those pitchers out there, they're not dominant. They're not, Ryan Yarbrough is not earning big money. And I think his 3.7 ERA or whatever he has this year is about as good as he'll ever get. Whereas Paul Skeens has an ERA of 2. And that's probably where he should be. That's how good he is. So I think
is there somewhere where, what if Paul Skeens' ERA was, because he backs off a little and he thinks long term, but maybe and the organization thinks long term, and they say, we're going to invest in you, we're going to give you $300 million over 7 years or whatever, so we want you being good all 7 of those years. So I mean,
he backs off in that his fastball velocity has gone from 98.8 to 98.2.
Right. So what if we say we want you to hover around 92, gear it up?
I think then he gets hit, right? Like I don't. Then he doesn't win the Cy Young, right? Like I don't think. I think that athletes are always going to try to win, and they're not going to be thinking long term, and they're not incentivized to think long term. Maybe if every pitcher came up and gave him a 10-year contract, they'd think a little more long term, but it's just not. I just don't. I just don't think that's realistic. Whatever, right? Like I don't think that's how any competitive team is going to be, right? There's always going to be a team who says, we want to win this year, so we're going to try to get as much as we can of our pitchers, right? We're going to pitch Tim Hill every single game. And so I think the only solution, there's the question is, how would you create a rule to prevent pitchers from throwing hard? And there's just not a way to do it. You're not going to mandate it doesn't count if it's over 100, right? That's not how it works. They've experimented with moving the mound back. That didn't work because it actually increased strikeouts because your breaking ball broke more. Even if your fastball velocity was perceived as lower. You could try lowering the mound again, I guess. I don't know if they've tried that recently. But there's not a way to do this. You can't just say have worse stuff,
Yeah, interesting. You could do the opposite of what the Yankees do with their hitters, where they're saying if you get the exit velocity of X, Y, and Z, you get bonuses or whatever. You talked about Goodhart's law and all that. You do the opposite with your pitchers. If you throw 20 pitches that are over,
but you don't tell people get lower exit. You don't tell hitters get lower exit velocity, right? That'll turn them into worse hitters.
Correct.
The point is you don't want them thinking about the metrics. I mean, there's so much technology in the game right now, and I think that the difference between pitching and hitting is that you really can craft a pitcher in a lab. And a hitter, you can't, right? A hitter has to react to the pitcher, whereas a pitcher is basically independent of the hitter, right? A pitcher doesn't even really need to be in games. They can just, they can get most of their work done by practicing throwing 99 and then practicing throwing a cutter. And occasionally, they show up and they pitch against hitters.
Interesting.
Whereas a hitter needs to pitch against live pitchers, or else they won't get the reps in. They won't learn how to hit. And so honestly, I think that's why the Yankees are better at pitching than hitting.
My wife and I had an interesting conversation. As you know, I'm a pitcher, and we came to the beach for a couple days here, and I brought a new pitcher for iced tea, a pitcher of glass pitcher. And I said to my wife, I brought the pitcher in. And she said, good. I said, myself. And she goes, what? You brought, big deal.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not yet making those dad jokes, but.
And you know what the worst thing is, EJ? It's just her and I. There's not even little kids around right here to make dad jokes for. But
yeah, you make principal jokes.
Or retired principal jokes. All right, let's move on to something else, because we're not going to solve that. I asked the question in the Tuesday discussion, which will be on Start Spreading the News tomorrow morning. If you could sign only one of these 4 guys on the Yankees right now, all impending free agents, and you can only get one. You're not going to get the other 3. You only get one of the 4. Which one do you sign right now? Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, Trent Grisham, or Paul Goldschmidt?
I think the best player of that group is Grisham.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, well, look, he's younger. Right? I mean, Paul Goldschmidt. I mean, he's still a good platoon player, but he's 37 years old. Right? Things hurt. I think that but I don't really see a place for Grisham long term. I'd rather Bellinger long term. I thought you were going to add Bellinger to that list. That was an easy answer. So I think Luke Weaver is the guy I'd resign. I like Luke Weaver. I think he's a good reliever. I don't think it'll be too expensive. And I think he's one of the better relievers in the league, and so losing him will hurt. Whereas Devin Williams, has been pretty bad with the Yankees. But Weaver's had his struggles this year, but his ERA is still 2.6 or something, and it looks good right now. So give me Weaver.
That would be my choice as well. I think Grisham. In 1996, the Yankees had a second baseman, Mariano Duncan, who hit 340. He never had a season like that ever again, nor before. He was just, every now and again, a player has a magical season. And I think that's Grisham this year. He's having his outlier season. Everything's working, but the body of work doesn't, to me, seem like that can continue. Of course, I'm wrong. I was wrong this year that he would be even any good.
I wonder if he gets a qualifying offer. 1 year deal, the Yankees would pay him $20 million, probably more than he would get, per year on the open market. The Yankees get a draft pick if they, if he signs elsewhere, or they get him on a 1 year deal. I could deal with that. One problem with that though, God, I hate this. The Yankees might try to get under the luxury tax next year.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of can, not if they re-sign Cody Bellinger. But if they don't, they pretty much can get under the luxury tax and still feel the team. I hate it because I want the Yankees to try to win next year. They have a good team, and I think they need to at least bring back Bellinger, Luke Weaver, a couple of those guys in order to do that. But they have the personnel around that they can kind of compete without that. And you only have so many more years of Aaron Judge. So I hate kind of not punting a season, but half, not completely going for it every season. On the other hand, there's a lot of money at stake, and I wonder if they do it. It's a little, it's something that I'm just, my eye is on right now, because they're kind of close right now. It is definitely possible. And given that there's a strike the season after, I mean, it would hurt, potential to strike the season or lock out the season after. It would hurt to maybe lose the best Aaron Judge years left to not really trying to win a World Series.
100%. So right now, I think the most appealing possible free agent is the guy who's leading the major leagues in at-bats and hits. He's hitting 297. He has an OPS plus of 120. He has 16 homers, 81 runs batted in, 37 doubles. His name
Gleyber Torres.
Bo Bichette.
Okay.
A shortstop. If the Yankees could get Bo Bichette, if they decide that it would hurt the Toronto Blue Jays, obviously they'd lose a good player, but then that would give you the ability to possibly trade Anthony Volpe or Jazz Chisholm. Now, again, these are going to be off-season things we talk about, but
I'm not really in off-season mode right now, but I will say, have you seen Bichette's defense?
Had not looked at that.
He is the worst in the majors at shortstop.
Is he really? Oh, I don't want him then. That's terrible.
Now, I want to see it historically. Let's look at it. Historically, he's been
negative.
Bad. Yeah, he's basically always been bad. And this year he's been very bad. So I would love to play him elsewhere. I just don't know where else you'd play him. You got third base covered by McMahon.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got...
No, second base is Jazz.
Second base is Jazz. And frankly, I think Jazz is better than he is. Yeah, he's a right-handed pull hitter too. I don't think he's a Yankee. He's going to be 28 years old, which is nice. But I mean, he's not that fast, so you can't really put him in the outfield. I don't know. Bichette's kind of an interesting free agency, because you're right. I mean, he's having a decent season. He has an 805 OPS. So it's not incredible, right? Trent Grisham is doing better than that. But the batting average was fun, right? Best expected batting average in the league, which is crazy. That's higher than Judge, actually. I didn't realize that. Wow. Yeah, wow. He's right up there with Aaron Judge, but a little bit higher. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't think Bichette works.
All right, because my thought was, what could you get then for Volpe or Jazz? And one of those guys.
No, well, you have
plays second
Caballero.
base.
You have Caballero, right? Who could play over Volpe conceivably. I don't know what Volpe is worth. I don't think it's nothing. I think you could trade him, but you think about the Jazz Chisholm trade with the Yankees gave up. It was like one good prospect. So Volpe's probably a little worse than Jazz Chisholm, a little less valuable than Jazz Chisholm. Maybe some team thinks he's, worth, so I don't think you're getting a lot in return for Volpe at this point, unless he has a kind of a strong end of the season. But also, if you can upgrade shortstop, I'll take it. And frankly, I think Caballero played shortstop on in the last game against the Cardinals. And so I that was framed as like a double rest day for Volpe. But I really do wonder if you start to see a lot more Caballero playing. I think there are arguably very similar players in terms of wins above replacement. They just get there a little bit differently. If you think Volpe is going to be a better defensive player than he was for most this year, which is possible, he's been most of his career. Volpe's probably the easy answer. But if you think that Volpe's defensive problems are still there, then I think Caballero might be the right answer. It's an interesting dilemma.
And and this is the kind of things that are fun. Now, here's a topic, my last topic for you already. And I think you and I are going to disagree on this.
Lots of thoughts on this. So,
is Rob Manfred made a statement the other day looking to have expansion by the time he retires, which I believe is 2029. They're looking first. They want to settle a couple teams. I think Tampa Bay and Oakland.
First, they need to negotiate a CBA and not have a lockout. But yeah,
and then he wants 2 more teams. And he said, if we get 2 more teams, I think what we should do is radically alter the major leagues and make it geographic. So there'd be an East Coast, maybe a Central and a West. Would they break it into 3? Would they break it into 4? A Western Central, an Eastern Central, or whatever. How a North
break into 8, right? 32 is divisible by a lot of numbers, right?
So whatever they do,
8 divisions of 4, 4 divisions of 8.
But his big point was, if we do that, the idea of an American League and a National League would be gone. And my sense is you're going to say, bring it on. I'm saying, I hope they don't do that. I think there's something to be said about tradition and teams and long-standing rivalries.
I mean, I kind of agree. I'm glad they got rid of the DH.
Yes. Oh, that I agree with, because that was just silly.
I do kind of like the AL and the NL just because it simplifies the competition a little bit in ways that are interesting. But also the National Hockey League has changed its divisions like 4 times in my lifetime, and it's been fine. I do think reducing travel would be a good thing. And right now, I mean, you're talking about the Rays and the Mariners being in the same division effectively, right? In the American League. And that's a lot of travel for teams. And I think it really is I think when we talk about injuries, I think that the 162 game schedule is a massive cause of injuries.
Interesting.
And so if you could reduce that wear and tear on players, I think it'd be a good thing. I was thinking the other day about could you do what the minor leagues has done, which is have a Tuesday through Sunday schedule and have Mondays always off? Would that reduce the wear and tear? If you had essentially a 6-game series every week, and so you travel in between that, but you don't have a travel day, you don't have another series travel day in between. Could you reduce the wear and tear on players that way? I think so. I think that I think that might have a meaningful impact on players.
Hey, I want to slow down here, because these are some things I never thought about, and I'm not even talking about eliminating the AL and the NL.
Yeah, just this kind of stuff. Yeah.
If you went back to 154 games, that gives you 8 days off, guaranteed, because it's that many fewer games. So that gives 8 more days for a player to rest, which is interesting. I don't know if that's significant or not.
I think it's got to matter, right?
But your other idea, basically every team plays each other 6 times. Is that what it's?
I don't know if the math works out that way. Let's see. Hold on. So,
well, I think they play in their division a little more, but
let's say, okay, let's say there's 32 teams. So there's 31 other teams times 6. It's 186 games. So you maybe wouldn't play a few teams every week, or maybe you
Well, if
occasionally
you play
would
everybody
have,
5 times, 31 times 5 is 155.
I don't hate it.
There's your
I-
100. Then you
Um,
play, just playing this out. Let's say the Yankees then play everybody 5 games, but you play them only once during the season in a 5-game series. Is this what you're saying? Like,
I
we'll
don't
go
hate
to
it.
Baltimore,
Like I think,
and
I
then
don't
next
hate
year
it.
they
I
come to
don't.
us.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think, to me that is 5 is a weird number, because how do you can't really plan a week out around 5 games.
You get
Right?
an extra day off.
You get 2
play
off
3
days.
and 2. Yeah.
I don't love that. I don't love that. That also, I think, allows you to go to a 4-man rotation if you have 2 off days a week. But I don't hate it either.
They used to have the 5-man rotation only came about in the 80s.
Yeah, but also you had, well, I mean, I guess you had more off days before the 162 game schedule. I don't hate it. It is. I'm thinking like, okay, there's people. Will you end up with like more bullpen games? Will you? I don't know, but
I think you'd have less, because you'd have your starters.
I think it is I think you're probably still looking at 162 games is my guess, just because like TV contracts and stuff. Though I guess they have a bunch of their TV contracts are expiring soon, and so you don't have that problem. I personally would love to go to fewer than 150 games, and then maybe expand the playoffs. I think that's a good trade-off.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. How many more? Expand the playoff series. So instead
of so you would have maybe you
play
have
7,
essentially an extra round, right?
Oh no, I don't want another round.
Well, so the ALDS would be 7, and then maybe there'd be 1 round below that. But again, you knock 2 weeks off the season. Essentially have a three full rounds of 7 rather than
right. So there's not another round then.
Well, I would still have a wild card series or something like that. I mean, the NHL, the NBA, right? That they have 4 full 7-game series rounds. And there's just a lot of money in that. And so I could imagine like the team, neither the players nor the league are going to sacrifice money, right? That's not what this is about. Like that, I'd be very surprised if they were like, yeah, let's just make less money like that. No. What they would do is they might rearrange that money more in the playoffs, a little less of a regular season. So I think there's a creative solution there that everybody would agree to. I think the division realignment is a way of not changing too much, but reducing travel. So I saw I think Jim Bowden had this idea of 4-team divisions with 32, and the Yankees division would be the Red Sox, the Phillies, and the Mets, which is a powerhouse of a division. Damn, right? That's a difficult division for other reasons. But it also means like you could take the train, right? Like you're very close to everybody. But even if you expanded that to 8 and you added in, Toronto, Washington, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore or something, that's just a lot less travel. And maybe you would still play the other teams a little bit, but maybe play them less. So every other season you make a trip to the other city, to the West Coast. I don't know. I actually think that I think that we would like I don't like the idea of like weak divisions and strong divisions, which is one of my problems here. I kind of would prefer essentially a fully balanced schedule, but again, the travel I think it's worse than that at that point. And the players are already beat up as is. So I think my preference would be no divisions. Everybody has a balanced schedule, but you play around with off days so that you're not traveling nearly as much. I think that's kind of what I would do. And the downside is there's no baseball on like Monday nights, but like whatever. I don't know. This isn't football. I don't think you're going to sell the Monday night game for that much money.
And there's Monday Night Football. I mean, not during the season. So
right.
much,
I mean, baseball has that clear window where there's nothing else. Right.
Right.
But I mean, I just don't. I don't think it's like football where it's a game a week. You can't miss the game. And
But
so
they have, well, they have off days. Those teams miss weeks.
Yeah, but like every day of the week there is a football game somewhere, right? And the NFL sells each day separately, basically.
Well, I think it's Monday, Sunday, and Thursday. I don't think they have games on Tuesdays.
They don't have Saturdays anymore.
No, they have Saturdays in the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Right.
They 1 or 2 weeks they play the Saturday games.
I'm not an expert on football, but what I mean is like I get the idea that like, okay, we don't want to have a game with no baseball, but like I don't think anybody would complain if Monday nights didn't have baseball.
Yeah,
every week.
and if you're used to that, going back to the Monday Night Football thing, Monday Night Football then wouldn't compete with the playoffs because you just wouldn't have. We don't have baseball on Mondays.
Yeah, and maybe you go to go Japanese league style and go to 6 starters, where you have a Tuesday starter, a Wednesday starter, etc. through Sunday. I think that might be, maybe that's one way you keep arms going.
And maybe they would pitch deeper into games, which is something else. In the olden days, it used to be Tom Seaver against, I don't know, Ron Guidry. And it was like, these are your 2 heavyweight champions, and your best pitchers going against their best pitcher, and they're both going to go 9. And who's the stronger guy who can go 15 rounds like a boxer deep into the game or deep into the match? And now you have whoever against whomever, but Jacob deGrom against Blake Snell, and they'll each leave in the 4th inning or whatever. So that could bring that back, which I think was always appealing. It's sort of like our best against your best. It's Tuesday night. We should be the commissioner, EJ. It's Tuesday night baseball. Everything is coming up aces because that's when the aces pitch on Tuesday nights. I
mean, I think something like that would be fun. I know that there's like business reasons why they don't do it. But I don't know, I don't think it's good for business to have Garrett Cole hurt.
It's not. Not at all.
Or have Aaron Judge down. Like if having that consistent rest like keeps a better product on the field, I don't know. I feel like something like that's very doable. Let me ask you a question, Paul, because this is kind of another scheduling question for that's coming up soon. Baseball players in the 2028 Olympics.
Yeah, I'm not into it. I don't like the World Baseball Classic.
I love it. I love it, and I wonder. I think they're going to do it. It sounds like it's going to happen.
Listen, I want America to win every gold medal. Go USA. That's all great and fine and good. I don't really care about the Olympics. I sometimes try to get into it. I find the coverage is so erratic. You never know when the events are. They only highlight certain sports. A couple of years ago, I said, I'm going to get into the Olympic boxing. I couldn't even find the bouts. You
got to use the Peacock online. They've actually got a pretty good system where you can just kind of pull up whatever you want.
Oh, I'll have to try that or whatever. But
as a fan of Olympic curling,
if I could trade the America Olympic gold medal for a Yankee World Series, I wouldn't. I want the Yankees to win the World Series. And if the America's going to win the gold medal, then Judge is going to have to play on the American team.
Yeah. And I think
maybe,
but I think you'll get pretty good participation. I think that most of the star players will do it. I mean, the Olympics is a big, the hockey's always had this problem. My bigger problem is like, what do you do? Are you going to compress the schedule and still get 162 games? Even with 10 days, that would kill them. I would absolutely kill them. So that to me,
if that happens, there'll be so many injuries that I will be pitching in the major league. There'll be nobody else.
Yeah, no, so seriously. And now look, a lot of players will have 10 days off, right? But the star players won't, and they might get hurt. So I think that's the hurdle. And my guess is they're negotiating that with the CBA because it seems like both the players in the league want to do it, but I think you got to just decrease the number of games. It's the only way to do it.
And then you could take 2 weeks off, so you'd lose 14 games.
Yeah, or 12 games or something. But yeah.
Wow. There's your 150 game season.
I think 150 games makes a lot of sense, and I wonder if baseball is contemplating it because I get that you're losing some gate revenue, like season tickets and that kind of thing. But for most teams, I mean, you're not playing that much baseball, like I'd rather like you're not that many people are watching a Monday night game. And so I can't imagine you're losing that much money, but I'm not an expert on that. So who knows?
You play 25 teams 6 times each. So that you come up with some schedule. There's going to be 7 teams that you don't play in a given year, and you figure that out. And then the next year you play them, and you don't play a different 7 teams, and you have a 150 game season. But you play every Tuesday through Sunday. And Tuesday, I think this is brilliant, is Aces Day, because that's when you're going to start your best pitcher to start the series.
Yeah, you can't enforce that, though, because guys get hurt. They get thrown off.
I understand that, but that's the design. That's the hope. And you're going to, if you go all out and you give it everything you have on Monday or Tuesday, you have a week to rest. You're going to have a week off. So that should definitely cut down on injuries because you're throwing a lot less.
I bet you it cuts down on position player injuries too, right? I mean, it's just so much of this has to be the grind of every single day. Going out there 20 days in a row is insane, absolutely insane. And
if you pitch 25 games, you could do the math in your head. I had to double check by writing it down. But if your starter goes 8 innings every single game for those 25 games, he's pitching 200 innings.
Yep.
And he's not going to pitch that. So he's like some of the big time pitchers are still just about getting to 200 innings. So you're not increasing their workload. You're actually going to decrease it.
No, I mean, a 6-man rotation would definitely decrease your workload.
Yeah.
You're pitching 29 games instead of 33, 34.
But you're only pitching 25 if you have a 6-man rotation.
I guess. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. There's 25 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I think that teams probably would still go with the 5-man rotation is my guess in this scheme, even though that's not what they do in Japan. In Japan, pitchers are healthier. That's real. They also don't throw as hard, which could be part of it. So I just hope that baseball is considering creative solutions, because I think it's going to get out of hand. I think you're going to see Tarek Skubal go down soon, right? And you're talking about players being the best pitcher in baseball for a year or two before they hurt their arm because they're just throwing too hard, right? Like, and again, they have every incentive to throw hard. Skubal's going to get paid because of it. But then, if he goes down for Tommy John, you lose him for 2 years. That's bad for baseball. I don't want that.
It's bad for baseball. And also, I'm just doing the quick math here on a calendar. If opening day is put off until April 7th, the season ends 25 weeks in a row, I believe, if I did my math quickly, on September 22nd. It's because you're only playing 150 games too. But you're starting a little later. The weather's going to be a little better on April 7th in theory than when you're starting on March 30th or March 29th or whatever. You got a week there. And then you're ending about a week earlier on September 22nd rather than the 29th or 30th. And the playoffs start. People are going to say we're heretics and coming up, this is terrible. But I'm liking this idea. I think they should make us the commissioner.
It's interesting that they're thinking about geographical realignment, right? Because that's once you get to 32, it becomes easier, right? Right now, you really can't. 30 is basically 15, right? 15 and 15 is the best you could do. Whereas 32, I do think divisions of 8 are very reasonable. I think divisions of 4 are kind of boring, but could happen.
The American League behemoth, whatever they would call that division.
That's a rough division.
I mean, you can have 4 teams in some seasons with 100 wins. The Phillies, the Mets, the Yankees, and the Red Sox.
If they have an unbalanced schedule, then you don't, right? I mean, it's one way of essentially not implementing a salary cap, but like accomplishing the same goal, which is like just force the big market teams to play each other, like force the California teams to play each other, force the Northeast teams to play each other, and then everyone else can just not have that much money, can play each other with lower payrolls. I mean, I really think that I'm going to get in trouble if this is a Yankee fan. I think a salary cap isn't a bad idea.
Oh, I want the Yankees. I want the Yankees to spend $500 million
sure.
every
I think
year.
it is bad for the Yankees to have a salary cap.
Yes.
I think, and I certainly think I'm a pro labor guy. I want the players to get paid.
Me too.
I think that the inequality in baseball is really hard to sustain. And I think it makes for some bad baseball. Like I think it makes for, teams with lots of zombie contracts of guys who are overpaid. What I really like the National Hockey League's salary cap structure, where there's a pretty high minimum and so there's really like a pretty narrow range in which there are contracts. And that really means that teams just very quickly kind of bounce from good to bad. And the downside is it means there's a lot more movement of players because you have to move players. If you bring up 4 guys who are all good at the same time, you just can't afford them. It's just impossible. The New Jersey Devils are having a problem right now where they just have a lot of really good young guys and good defensemen, and like they're not going to be able to sign them all long term, which is impossible. But that's the design of the system. And like I think it makes for more competitive baseball. Like it would just suck to be a fan of the Reds or something. A team that's trying to win but just doesn't have the money, never will really have the money, can't really compete for players, and I don't like that, right? And I think that it sets up a world where you have these kind of like teams trying to load up with 24-year-olds and win with a bunch of 24-year-olds, and then they leave and they go somewhere else. I don't know. I just don't think it's a great system. I think the problem is the league is going to want a low minimum and a salary cap, which I think is the worst possible system, where you still have teams not spending, not trying to compete, but you also don't have teams. You don't let teams go out and try to compete and try to win.
I came up with a flaw in our geography or geographic alignment here. If you have the 4 California teams in a division, you have Seattle. I assume you have the Vegas A's. I can't think of 2
The A's would be one of the 4 California teams, but yeah.
No, you got the Padres, the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Angels. That would be the California.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
the A's go to Vegas.
Yeah. Then you have the Mariners, the A's. I think you expand one team probably into Portland.
Oh, all right. So you got Portland,
and then you have Arizona, and that's a division. I think that's essentially your Pacific Time division.
So that would be a big Arizona to Seattle. That'd be a little bit of a pain, but
yeah, but I mean, Seattle, you're never going to solve Seattle. Seattle.
I know that's the problem.
It's up there in the middle of the corner, right? I mean, frankly, Miami's got a similar problem. We're just far away from everything.
Well, you have Miami, Tampa, Atlanta.
You can put a team in Nashville.
I was just going to say Nashville.
You put a team in Raleigh, but that's 3 teams, not 2 teams you're adding. And then you have you could go up to Washington, Baltimore, something like that. The Midwest is easy. You can easily get a division out of the Midwest, from Pittsburgh all the way through Milwaukee.
Probably 2. Easy.
Yeah. So like I don't think it's like I think Jim Bowden has one that's been circulating from a couple of years ago. I think that they're pretty good. I'm pretty happy with those. It's doable to create reasonable divisions. There might always be one kind of weird team, like you got to put whatever Pittsburgh somewhere, and it's not really an easy answer. But I think the current West divisions are crazy, right? I mean, the Houston Astros are in the AL West, right? I mean, Houston is, I think, east of Chicago. So like it's I'm sure there's a better way to do it than what they have, which is kind of holdovers from bygone eras. I think at the least I'd love to see a realignment within the leagues, where you have a more of a West Coast, East Coast division between in each of the American and National leagues.
Interesting stuff. All right, EJ, we just about hit the top of the hour. Next Monday. That's 2 weeks is Labor Day, right? That's not next week. It's 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah. So we should probably be live next Monday.
Yep.
So this again was recorded earlier today. I thank everybody for watching. I thank EJ as always for making me think deeply about things and expanding my mind in many, many, many ways to embrace ideas that when we started the show, I was absolutely against. And then you start to think through things and you say, And I think we came up with some at least interesting ideas that they should consider. Thank you for watching the Start Spreading the News podcast. This is Paul Semendinger for EJ Fagan. Have a wonderful